What's up, guys? Welcome back. Paul from Paul Sklar X Fit. So, you want to build big arms, but where do you start? Now, that's a great question. So, if you're new to fitness, new to lifting, new to bodybuilding, and you walk into a gym, how do you get your arms bigger? Now, there are a million different ways that you can work your arms to make them bigger. Today, I'm going to show you 2 exercises for biceps and 2 exercises for triceps. Now, before you get started and before you walk into the gym, you want to at least look presentable. Now, you don't have to have a polo like I'm wearing, but I want it to look presentable for all of you. Make sure that you get a shirt that's cut right around the top of your biceps if you want your biceps to show. If you don't, get a shirt that's cut all the way down to the bottom. No one will have any idea what your biceps look like, and you kind of just float along. No one will really care. But if you want to have your arms pop, if you want your biceps to pop, you want your triceps to pop, get a shirt that fits. Now, this is a shirt by Barbell Apparel. It's a polo. They also have a t-shirt, so if you don't want to look too fancy in the gym, get yourself the t-shirt. I've got them linked in my bio. 365-day money-back guarantee. Great apparel, great casual wear as well. Check them out. You got nothing to lose. If you don't like it, send it back. But do make sure you go into the gym looking presentable. I don't want to see you go in there, do the exercises that I show you, and just look like a slob. Now, the 2 biceps exercises that I'm going to show you, many of you may know exactly what they are, but I am going to show you the most effective way to make the biceps actually grow. If you actually lift with purpose and with contraction, you will have better results. A lot of people, they grab dumbbells, they start to move them around, they're not really thinking about the exercise, and they really don't get the most out of the exercise. So today, I'm going to show you the best way and the most effective way to make your biceps pop. And once we get done making the biceps pop, of course, you have to have triceps in order to fill out the arms. You can work biceps all day long. If you don't work the entire arm, the triceps as well, you'll have a big biceps and you won't have any triceps. So it's important, if you want the overall look of the arm to look big, you've got to work the biceps, you've got to work the triceps, and of course you've got to work the muscles around the elbow and the forearm. So you've got the brachialis and the brachioradialis that you want to work as well. The good news is the second biceps exercise that I'm going to show you today works exactly that. Even if you are not a beginner, if you're advanced, you still may be doing these exercises incorrectly or not as efficiently as you could be doing them. So pay attention to detail. Let's blow up the arms. Let's go. The 2 exercises that I'm going to show you today are the standard dumbbell biceps curl and the dumbbell hammer curl. Okay, with the standard biceps curl, we don't need a lot of weight. What we're looking for is good form and solid contraction. So if you're using a weight that you're just throwing around and moving the body and using momentum, it's not going to work as well. You're going to work everything else other than the muscle that you want to work, which is the biceps. So with the standard biceps curl, I'm going to take my arms, very simple. You can see from the side, I'm going to put them to my side. I've got them resting on the side of my thighs. I have my triceps locked in against my lats, so they're locked in place. You can look from the side. My shoulder pretty much stays in the same position. So when I curl, I keep my triceps locked against my lats, my chest nice and high, my shoulders relatively back, and I slowly, using my biceps, and you can look at your arms to see what they look like to make that contraction even stronger. I'm gonna slowly curl, keeping my arm in the same exact position. So if you look at it from the side, nice and tight. When I extend down, I still have my biceps under tension. It's an eccentric contraction. It's when the biceps contracts and stretches at the same time. So that's important as well. Control it on the way down. So as I curl up, chest nice and high, I squeeze nice and tight, back down to start. You don't have to flex the triceps. You don't have to completely lock out. You can keep light tension on the biceps with a slightly bent elbow if you want, or flex the triceps. It's gonna lengthen the biceps, make it harder to start from the bottom position. So real time, we're curling. And again, if you're just starting, concentrate on the contraction. Concentrate nice and tight on the contraction. And yes, it's okay if you get a little bit of shoulder movement. So if I'm curling and the weight gets too heavy, if I'm still contracted here and my shoulder moves up a tiny bit, that is okay. And you'll see a lot of people say, well, no, you're only working your shoulder. You know what? If I'm working a solid biceps curl and I get a little bit of anterior delt, I am fine with that. As long as I'm not throwing it up with my anterior delt and I'm really controlling the weight the entire time. So now that you know that, we're gonna move to exercise number 2, the hammer curl. And there are 2 ways that I like to perform a hammer curl. The first is with the arms to the side of the body. So I have my arms at the side of my body. Again, I've got my lats locked into my triceps. And again, that doesn't mean that my arm is against my body. I've got the lat locked in against the triceps. So you can see when I curl, I can build up a tremendous amount of tension as long as I hold that position. So that's position number 1, arms at the side. Position number 2, if I take my elbows forward, again, I keep my shoulder in the same exact position. If I take my elbow forward and then I rest the dumbbells on my thighs. Now I'm in a position where I am less mechanically advantaged. I've got my elbows forward. It's gonna put a tremendous amount of stress on my biceps and of course on the brachialis and brachioradialis at the same time. But when I curl from the front, I'm really taking away any possibility of using momentum unless I do this. And then you know for sure that I'm using momentum. But if I can lock in place here, lock in with my elbows forward, not move my shoulder that much, pretend like I have a piece of paper locked in on the sides, I can curl up nice and tight and release. So let me show you what the hammer curl looks like in both positions. I'd like you to try both. Again, you don't have to use very heavy weight. I'm using the same exact weight that I used for the standard biceps curl. It doesn't make much difference as long as you are challenged and the contraction is tough. So let's take a look at the first hammer curl. Arms at the sides, locked in place. I'm gonna curl up nice and tight. Again, you have to think about using your biceps. Now you're in a much more mechanically advantaged position with the hammer curl, so it's gonna be a little bit easier. That being said, you may want to use a little bit more weight with the hammer curl, and that's what I typically do. Now, I can use more weight with my arms at the sides. Again, I'm not using momentum. I'm locking into my biceps. I'm not really thinking about my brachialis and brachioradialis. I know they're working, but I'm really trying to concentrate strictly on doing this movement with my biceps. Now that wasn't too bad. Now we're gonna take our dumbbells and we're gonna put them on our thighs. So I've got them on my thighs, I've got my knees slightly bent, chest nice and high. From this position, if I curl, I typically like to do an alternating curl. So I'll start with the left, think about it, back down to the thigh, continue with the right, back down to the thigh, and left. So again, this is a much more difficult position because my elbows are forward. If I double up, I've got to make sure that my abs are nice and tight, my legs again slightly bent, and I'm gonna really curl these until I can't curl anymore. Now a question I get asked a lot, what should your tempo be? Your tempo is gonna depend on your specific limb lengths, your specific fitness level, and basically how you curl. Some people have slower twitch muscle fibers, some have faster twitch. Everyone's a little bit different, so you need to figure this out yourself. I typically like to go with a nice controlled motion. That way I avoid injury at all costs. I don't want to tear my biceps tendon. I don't want to throw up something so heavy that my muscle's not ready for it. And then the next thing you know, I'm injured and I can't work out. And that defeats the entire purpose of working out. If you want to go with a faster tempo, use lighter weights. If you use lighter weights, you can go with a much faster tempo. Doesn't even matter which grip you use, and you'll be able to go with a little bit more volume. The heavier the weight, obviously less volume until you work up to a level where you can then lift a heavier weight with a lot of volume. So if I start out, I walk into the gym, I can only lift 15 pounds 10 times. I work on this for a couple of months. The next thing I know, I'm now at 30 pounds and I can lift it 25 times. So the key is consistency, and the key is staying dedicated to your goal. If you know what your goal is, it's very easy to keep it in mind and work towards it. So if you're a newbie, get the form down right. And again, if you're not a newbie, get the form down right. When the form is right, the exercise goes well, the biceps grows and the gains follow. Now that we have mastered the biceps, we need to master the triceps. So I'm gonna show you 2 simple exercises that can get the job done. All you'll need is a set of dumbbells and a bench. If you don't have a bench, you can do these on the floor as well. Remember, when you do these exercises, concentrate on the contraction. Try not to think about anything else. Try not to let your mind wander. Concentrate on the contraction and concentrate on making the muscle grow. Okay, the first exercise is the dumbbell skull crusher. I like to do them with dumbbells, especially for people who are just starting, because there is a tremendous amount of stress placed on the elbow when you use a straight bar or even a W bar. So the dumbbells allow for a little bit more movement, so you'll have to have a little bit more control when you do these because they can move left and right, forward and backwards. Take your time, use a weight that you can handle, and get through at least 10 to 15 repetitions with solid form. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna lay back on our bench. Arms are gonna go straight up in front of us. We're gonna take the arms a little bit further back. So you can see right here, I'm in about a 90-degree position. I'm gonna take them back maybe 2 or 3 inches. Once I have them locked in that position, I've gotta lock my lats in place, drive myself down into the bench. I'm gonna look straight up and I'm gonna bend at the elbow. So I'm gonna take the weights and aim slightly behind my ear. So you can see I touch my bench so I know I really can't go any further and I don't need to go any further. From that position, I wanna keep my elbows in the same spot and extend straight up using my triceps. So I bend at the elbow, try to keep the elbow slightly further back, tap the bench and bring it straight up. You'll see a lot of people with the weights here and they'll try to bring it in here. There's a tremendous amount of tension on the elbows as well, but there is a little bit more triceps activation. So I like to try to find a nice happy spot where I'm less likely to get injured. So think about squeezing extra tight in the triceps. Very, very simple. Use a light weight, rip it out, hold the form. The tendency sometimes is to have maybe the weights go out to the side and they flop all over the place. Lock them in tight, let your triceps do the work, and flex. Now for the second and final triceps exercise, I am gonna give you 2 variations because I'm a nice guy. If you have trouble with your wrists in a push-up position, especially in a close grip push-up position, you can use a set of dumbbells. But for triceps, we want to have the hand position, the width, closer together than a regular position push-up. The closer in, the more tension on the triceps. Now what the dumbbells do is they keep your wrist in a nice neutral position rather than a flex position. I do both. I don't have a problem with the flex position, but if you do, doing them on dumbbells is a great variation. So we want to get all of our weight onto our dumbbells. I've got my wrist in a nice neutral position. Now when I come down, I want to come down so that my elbows come slightly out. I don't want my elbows to fan all the way out. I don't want them all the way tucked in. I want them slightly out. So taking my elbows slightly out, I'm going to lower slowly. I want to lower with tension on my triceps. So I've got tension on my triceps. I lower slowly on about a 3 count, and then I squeeze and push the floor away using my triceps. So I lower, keeping my shoulders back. I can tap if I want, and then squeeze tight. So I've got constant tension on my triceps. You can use a lot of shoulder and chest if you really wanted to, if you flare your elbows out. I don't want you to do that. I want you to keep the elbows relatively tucked and squeeze nice and tight. So this is a close grip push-up, very simple, without the dumbbells. Take the dumbbells away, move them out of the way here. I have a position about 8 inches apart. So very, very simple, about 8 inches apart. I'm gonna use my thumb as a guide, and I like to do this. When I come down, I like to have my thumbs tap my chest. I know I'm in a good position. I know I've got good depth. So I've got my hands positioned 6 to 8 inches apart. I'm gonna slowly lower, only fanning my elbows out a tiny bit to make sure I don't have any pain in my shoulders. Tap, and then extra flex. I'm not fully locking my arms out. I've got a ton of tension on the triceps. You don't wanna fully lock out and go into the joint. I can squeeze extra tight here, have all of the tension on my triceps without actually aggravating my joint. So slowly, I wanna aim mid-chest level towards my thumbs, and then flex, push the floor away, press it away rather than pressing yourself away from the floor. So come on down, flex, press the floor away, come on down, flex, press the floor away. Man, I tell you what, I love doing demonstrations, especially for biceps and triceps. So when you're natural, the great thing is that when you lift a good amount, you get pumped. The bad thing when you're natural is typically that pump goes away not too long after you get done. If you're on the gear, you're like this all the time. I wish I was like this all the time, but that's not the path that I chose to go down. You can see, got a great pump My shirt's in the right spot. Triceps, great pump as well. Remember, real important, biceps and triceps, brachialis, brachioradialis, get them all pumping and you will have bigger arms if you get this right. Remember, stay the course, stay consistent, work hard, train hard, get in the gym, eat right, have your goals in mind, and I will see you the next time.